Good morning, dear students. Today's lecture is Linguistic Means of Intercultural Communication, Grammatical Aspects. The main topics of our lecture are the first, attitudes toward grammar, next, definitions of grammar, the third one, historical influence of theories and approaches to grammar methods, the fourth, description of recent approaches and the methods, the fifth, importance of learning grammar, and the last one is issues about how to teach grammar. And why teach grammar? Teaching grammar has two opposite attitudes. The first, it's attitudes against grammar. The famous linguists Stephen Krashen and Michael Lewis say that grammar is not very important and it doesn't imply effective use, and grammar is not the basis of language acquisition, but we have attitudes in favor to grammar. So the grammar will help students score better on standardized tests that include grammar, usage, and punctuation. Next one, people master the socially prestigious convention of spoken and written usage. And the last one, people become better user of the language. Well, and here we have some definitions of grammar. And you see the grammar is a study of the structures of a language and the rules of a language. Next, the basic definitions are what's an approach, method, and procedure. Let's observe them. So, approach is the nature of language proficiency and the nature of language learning. Approach is an account of the basic units of language structure and cognitive and psycholinguistic processes. And it's an account of some conditions that allows a successful use. So, and method is at first it's a general and specific objectives, and method is learner rules, teacher rules, the role of instructional material, and of course some types of teaching activities. Procedure is classroom techniques, practices, and behaviors observed when the model is used. It may be some grammar exercises and some activities. Well, and now let's review historical perspective of teaching grammar. You see here we have the table with the two columns, theories and methods. So series comparison of language and the methods which is used. It's a traditional grammar. Structural of descriptive in linguistics, and the method is audiolingual method. Transformational generative grammar and the cognitive methods. But you see we have some limitations of using such methods. Traditional grammar, part of speech study is not effective to analyze languages where word order and the syntax determine grammatical function, and audiolingual methods did not consider language creativity and language acquisition processes. Next limitation, it's limitations of cognitive methods. Cognitive methods. They are focus on linguistic competence and no consideration of the real production of sentence, and of course predominance of syntax over meaning. Well, and now let's observe or review some approaches, types of approaches. The first is a whole language approach. Well, and the whole language approach study language or language use in a social context and in a humanistic and constructive schools. And so in these methods, language should be seen or should be studied as a whole. Well, there are some issues about how to teach grammar, and we have chosen some important issues. The first, should grammar be taught in separate grammar only classes? But you see, we must teach grammar in the general language courses. And you see, grammar or grammar information is a component of communicative competence. It may be conscious or unconscious. Well, next, so, and the next, here we have also the issue there are some conditions that grammar considers. Look, here we have, for example, grammatical topics come from the student's own performance in other classes. Grammar is contextualized in meaningful language use, and you see it's the main conditions. Well, look, next question or issue is, should teachers correct grammatical errors? And here, which is the right question. And look, research evidence shows that overt grammatical correction has little consequence in improving learners' spoken language. It's clear, yeah? Well, next issue is, should we use grammatical explanations and technical terminology? Well, it's you must be approached with care. Use brief and simple explanation. Use charts, presentation, some visual aids. Illustrate with clear examples and consider cognitive styles. And do not concentrate on exceptions. It will be during the examples, during the activity. So next question, should grammar be presented inductively or deductively? It depends on the learning context, and now let's observe them separately. So deductive approaches are teacher-centered. Here the rules is explained and then applied to examples, and the students practice and receive feedback. but you see it's a one direction approach. Here we have some advantages and the disadvantages of these approaches. Well, the first, it is direct nonsense and can be very efficient, and it respects students' expectation and learning style. But the main one is it allows the teacher to deal with language points as they come up. But we have some disadvantages or dangers of deductive approaches. So certain learners, including younger ones, may react negatively, and it can be seen as dull, over technical, and demotivating. With using these approaches, deductive approach, the teacher must check students' previous knowledge, share learning goals, and etc. etc. Well, after the teacher gives a clear explanation of the rule and provides examples, so students' understanding will be checked. The teacher provides independent practice so that the student personalizes the rule. Well, next it's inductive approaches. Inductive approach, it's what kind of? This model is used to teach specific content through examples. You see, from the examples, the student derives an understanding of the rule. It is also have inductive approaches have advantages and disadvantages. So the first, it's a rule discovery. Through some examples, the learners discover their own rules. Rule discovery is more likely to fit the learner's mental structure, so rules become more meaningful. The mental effort ensures greater memorability, and the students have an active role in the learning process. So also we have next advantages. Independent activities give students greater self-reliance and therefore encourage learning autonomy. And you see the main, and it's the modern approach nowadays. It gives more opportunities for collaborative work, which gives the opportunity for extra language practice. Well, but inductive approaches have disadvantages or dangers. You see, focus and the main one is focus on rules may make students believe that rules are the objective of language learning, and students may hypothesize the wrong rule if there is no guidance. It is also disadvantages. And in inductive approaches, teacher must be so the teacher provides communicative so the teacher provides communicative input, the teacher provides activities, and through students' examples, through students' presentation, they creative create some rules, especially grammatical rules. Yeah, I have just said that the learner internalizes the rule according to the hypothesis in communicative activities and verified if the hypothesis is correct. Next approaches is discourse-based approaches. It means that language is context sensitive. Well, what does it mean? For example, look, here we have two sentences. Jane stopped smoking and Jane stopped smoking when your dad came into the room. But you see, these sentences are different. In a text, the sentence loses ambiguity and the implications are better inferred. Context of situation. And here, look, Smith doesn't seem to have a girlfriend these days. He's paying a lot of visits to New York. Time and place of conversation. Rules and the relationship of the speakers and the mood of communications. So they influence on what? On the context of situation. Context of culture. Have you seen Peter? He is on jury duty. Knowledge of typical activities in a particular society. So here we have some steps of a teacher's presentation. The teacher provides a text that illustrates the linguistic features. Sources of text is a course book, authentic sources. It may be some video materials or some authentic texts. It may be journals, magazines, some reviews, and etc. And the teacher makes the learners familiar with the text. Well, and look, the teacher focuses on the linguistic features. The learners apply the linguistic feature in communicative activities. The appropriate use of the linguistic feature is verified. And here we have some exercises. For deductive approach, for using deductive approach. Use the rule explanation to teach question formation. For example, my mother called her doctor yesterday. Yeah, here you must explain at first the tense, yeah, past tense, and the teacher must show the verb and etc. The verb and the verb call, yeah, and the ending of the past tense ed. Well, the adverb of past tense yesterday, past simple tense, and etc. Well, inductive approach teach the difference between past simple and present perfect through minimal sentence pairs. Well, and the exercise for discourse-based approach teach the passive by using an authentic text. For example, here we have dog attack by taken from Thornberry, How to Teach Grammar. Well, and the beyond approaches and the methods. An approach or methods may be an essential starting point. While gaining experience as a teacher should develop an individual approach or personal method. The approach or method is creatively adjust to the realities of the classroom and the teacher's personal beliefs. Here we have some principles and beliefs of teacher. Consider your role in the classroom, the nature of effective teaching and training, the solution of the learner's difficulties, successful learning activities, the structure of an effective lesson. And you see, these principles must be considered at different times. Make learners the focus of the lesson. Develop learners' responsibility. Be tolerant of learners' mistakes. Develop learners' confidence. Practice both accuracy and fluency. And address learners' needs and interests, and etc. Yeah, according our approaches and methods which have been discussed in this lecture. So, and some information you can find from this bibliography. Yeah. Well, students, thank you for your attention.